大家好，很欢迎来看华尔街多媒体，我是王琳。我们今天请到 MEB Options 的 Bobby Heller 来跟我们分享4月28号星期三的市场情况。Bob, it's very good to have you here. Yesterday, market tanked. Was it mainly because S&P downgraded Portugal and Greece debt ratings?
Yes, I think that was the main reason. We had some good news, in America about consumer confidence, consumer spending, and some good earnings news. But I think that story about Greece and let's just say Europe at this point is really weighing on the markets again. Now, in the past few weeks, we've been saying Greece is causing problems. Greece looks good, but it was only moving the market, 10 to 20, 30, 40 points. Yesterday moved 200 points. I mean, a big downgrading in ratings, I think, by Moody's. There was also some downgrading about Portugal. Now I think we're at a crossroads as far as Europe is concerned. People are afraid that all these downgrades and the risk of sovereign debt being defaulted on, not just in Greece, but we're looking at Portugal, Spain, Italy, and maybe Ireland. That risk now has a lot of people thinking that it may derail the economic recovery in Europe. And I think a bigger global perspective is that, what are they doing in Europe? Are they really a united Europe that cares about everybody else, like we have in America, where people in Oregon will do things to support people in Florida? I think they still have a problem in Europe in that they want to share one currency and have open borders for economic reasons, but the idea of actually being somebody in Serbia being a brother to somebody in Portugal, I think that's a little far-fetched for a lot of people. And they really need to decide whether they're just going to be people who play with the same kind of money or if they're really going to be united for common causes.
Today the market's eased and we're up right now, and financials are doing pretty good today after Goldman Sachs has been grilled yesterday. And do you think, actually what's the reason? Do you think it's because Germany kind of said they might be able to step in if Greece will default, or is it pretty much because this thing in Washington with Goldman Sachs is seen as an open shut case?
I don't know if it's an open and shut case, but I think a lot of it has to do with what we saw on television yesterday with the Senate and the questioning with Goldman Sachs. If you would have walked around here yesterday at the New York Stock Exchange, every TV was turned up full volume, and people were watching and listening all day long. Now, if we went into the other room, the options trading room at the New York Stock Exchange, nobody had the volume on, and people were looking up and talking about it very little. But out here, eyes were riveted. Now, like we spoke about, the market was down big yesterday, over 200 points, but yet Goldman Sachs managed to gain $1 in their stock. So I think we're looking at, they don't think it's going to be terrible for Goldman Sachs, but I think it's still a long way off. I think it may depress their stock and make it a little bit hard for them to really do what they want to do over the next few months. The recovery, the bounce back we have today as far as the market being up, it's only a couple of points, and it's not, there's no real conviction. So I think a lot of people are still worried about not just Goldman Sachs, but all the other financial banks and brokers. I think they still have problems on their balance sheets in terms of mortgages and in terms of real estate. And the big question that a lot of people are looking for in the Wall Street community is what is the regulation, what are the new regulations going to look like, and how will it affect the firms? Now, we saw, if we watched any of the proceedings yesterday, almost anybody can see that there can be some kind of a conflict between what a trading firm is doing for their customers and what they intend to do for themselves. So it'll be interesting to see how our government comes and tries to protect everybody while still allowing people to, make money without handcuffing them, too tightly.
And DuPont, well, yes, actually yesterday DuPont and today Dow Chemical, they both came in with numbers that were better than expected. Is this now showing us that we do see a broad economic recovery going on in the U.S. And not only in the U.S. because they had actually solid numbers abroad as well?
Right. I think that is a sign that the recovery will be more even and broader. Now, we've been complaining the last 6 months that good news, bad news, good news, bad news, and very choppy, uneven recovery. but lately most of the data seems to be pointing in the same general direction, and I think most economists and market watchers are thinking that the recovery is a little more broad and steady. But one thing I would like to note is that we've been talking about airlines a lot in the last few weeks, and I noticed that JetBlue posted a loss of $1 million when people were expecting about a $3 million profit for the first quarter. And they're complaining about higher fuel costs, and I imagine all the airlines are going to have the same problem. And it goes back to what we said, that if it costs $300 to fly a guy to Florida, charge $300. So that's a sector that it's so hard to tell, because things just change all the time, and even when things are good, it's hard for them to make money.
Last but not least, we have today the Fed's interest rate meeting minutes coming out in the afternoon. Since the economy is broadly kind of slowly but maybe steadily recovering, do you think there will be any change of rates from the Fed?
Well, usually I say there's not going to be any change. Nobody cares. Don't even pay attention. But I think maybe their tone of the conversation might be a little different. That I think people are starting to expect them to maybe raise them a little bit towards the end of the year. But up until now, Chairman Bernanke always says no, low rates, low rates, low rates. I think he might be a little less forceful, even though I don't see any real changes in the real short future.
Thank you very much for your time. 今天很高兴可以请到 Bobby Hallett 从 MEB Options 来跟我们分享他对市场的想法。谢谢看华解读媒体。